Hi, my name is Doug Buchanan. I'm Director of Music here at St. David's, and I'm here in conversation with Josh Bornfield.
Hi there.
Josh has been part of the choir for, this is your 9th season, because you came 1 year after I did, and then in 2018 to 2019 you served as Composer-in-Residence. Josh is a phenomenal composer, has had operas, chamber music, art song played all over the place, and including right here at St. David's. And it was my great honor to get my doctorate 30 seconds after you did, because our names are separated by just a few letters.
Right, one vowel in the sequence. Yeah,
exactly.
And so, a delighted Pete Seeger. I showered him with praise, and I told him he was a profound influence on me, and said, "Oh, really?" And I don't know what you said to him, but evidently he was beaming when he walked away. So.
Pete Seeger was our graduation speaker, and so all three composers who graduated with doctorates that year were fawning over Pete Seeger. I think everyone else was sort of bemused at who he was, but the composers were in awe.
We were tripping over ourselves with beaver fever. It was really something.
It's true. And speaking of vowels, let's turn to something that has no vowels.
Hebrew.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a couple.
Strictly
speaking, there are 3 in the alphabet, but we don't really know what they sound like. Nobody really knows what they sound like, famously so, in fact.
So Josh's piece, LoYisa Goy, kind of dives into some ambiguity of language.
Yeah.
This was a piece that Josh wrote for us for the closing even song of the 2018-2019 season. It's called LoYisa Goy. And Josh, I want to turn it over to you. Can you talk to us a little bit about maybe a little bit about the traditional translation, your spin on it, and then how that translated into the piece?
Sure. Well, a little bit on background in this piece. There was a tragic event that happened in October of 2018. There was a mass shooting in a synagogue at a baby's naming ceremony at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. And then 6 months later, there was a copycat event that happened in California, and it was on the heels of that copycat event that I felt like I needed to say something about it as a Jew who works in churches. And so I went to this passage in Isaiah, nation shall not make war against other nation, and neither shall they make war anymore, that passage, right? Which there are 2 nearly identical passages in the Old Testament, one of them in Isaiah, the other quoting Isaiah, but I think it's in the book of Micah, I think. That's where we get, beat their swords into plowshares and, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. That's where that passage comes from. But in Isaiah, there's a block of text that's very confusing because there are no spaces in the Talmud. You just have to kind of figure out where the words are and what they are for yourself. It's a learned thing. So the lines that immediately preclude LoYisa Goy, El Goy Cherev, nation shall not use God to make war against other nations, are roughly translated, God shall come unto them as the judge of all nations, as the great ruler, and he shall decide among them who is right and who is wrong. And then there's this great line that's really hard to translate, that you can read as either their daughters will beat their swords into shovels, or you can read it as God will teach them how to spell. And then immediately following it, they will teach each other their songs, which I find just the most beautiful idea, that you would have 2 very different peoples speaking different languages, using different traditions, that they would come together to teach each other their songs. And that was the foundation behind this piece. It was kind of a desperate need to feel like transformative power was real, that people were capable of being transformed. And so I sat down with this text with the explicit intention of having a music that was very simple be transformed into something completely other than what it was, so that when you get back to the original material at the end, it's not the music that's transformed, but instead the listener. And in this, though we're not doing it in this interpretation for this upcoming Sunday, the listener is transformed into the performer in the piece, and that's kind of the ethos of what it's all about. In the original performance at the Evensong that we performed it at, the
the singers would first congregate up here and then disperse into the congregation and actually teach part of the passage to the people in the pews, and created this sort of cloud of music that wove together. It was really an interesting thing to experience, and worked well in that sort of evensong setting where folks are coming for that musical event, but not something that we're doing in the liturgy for Sunday, as Josh mentioned. But we still get this effect. There is this sort of cloud asynchronous effect that both opens and closes the piece, and I think does so very effectively, and sets up the harmonic language and the harmonic turns that happen within the piece. And I think it creates a special environment to hear that transformation of text.
There's one moment in particular in this piece that I'm really proud of that breaks a fundamental rule that I was taught by my first, my second, and my third composition teachers, which is when you're coming to a cadence, actually cadence. The final cadence of the scripted music in this piece, as in the non-improvised music, you find a cadence at what is roughly the submedian, which is, it's a point of stability in an unstable place. And then a note occurs secondarily within this chord. Like something settles onto a note that feels really important, but you're not sure why, because you've been through this whole transformation. And that note, it turns out, is tonic, and you just forgot it because you went through something. And then when you hear it, you're like not sure if it was there the whole time and you just missed it, or if it occurred because you thought maybe it should have been there, you know, which is the point of the piece. It's like when you're learning a second language, there comes a moment when you're not thinking in your native language anymore. You're thinking in the other language, and you don't notice it when it happens, right? You suddenly find yourself thinking in another language, thinking in the customs of that other language, thinking in the patterns of thought that would create that grammar, that system of organization that's beyond you. It's outside of yourself, and yet somehow it's now in you and you are of it, right? It's a funny thing.
That's, I think, particularly when I've attempted learning other languages and I have phrases appear in my dreams.
Yep.
It's simmered into my subconscious, and those are always interesting moments.
Yeah.
Well, this and much more on Sunday. We'll be hearing music of Alexander Scriabin, as well as Hildegard von Bingen and Joshua Bornfield as well. So we look forward to sharing this music with you. Josh, thanks so much for being here and also for writing the piece.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me. It's a really good baseline slice. There is nothing special about this pizza except the fact that it's perfectly made.
It is when you think about the platonic ideal of a slice, just sort of this median, like you're in the cave and you're looking at the shadows.
Yeah, it's raised, but it's right down the street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is exactly. Yeah. This is the shadow. This is the shadow pizza that you eat in the cave. Is that Play-Doh?
Yes, I mean technically it's real dough, but yeah.
That is a good joke. That is an excellent joke.
That's the Be Real. There it is. My job is done.
That's amazing. Okay, that's it.
Bye.
We're not going to talk about music. That's it.